What was your reaction to all of this?
Okay, I think I want to preface it with this. No matter, let's just assume everything Magic said was true. You still don't quit your job that way. You just don't. You just, the way he did it, you don't quit. I worked at a shoe store part-time in high school. I gave them 2 weeks' notice. Like, you don't no show, no call, and you don't quit on the spot of any job, much less president of the Lakers. So I'm not letting him off the hook for that. But the things he said were going on, man, I'd want to quit too. What do I do here? I can't fire the coach, and I can't fire the coach because you say you want to sleep on it. You then come back and say I can. We then have a third meeting, and Tim Harris, who is on the business side of things, people need to understand this about basketball teams or sports teams in general. They have typically very clear lines of demarcation between the people in charge of the players and the coaches and what actually happens on TV, on the court, on the field, and the people who need to sell suites, the people who need to do marketing deals.
Yeah, just like any other large company.
Right, absolutely. So there wouldn't be someone at Fox who's in charge of selling the commercials who stops by the studio and was like, I actually think in this segment you should do this. Like but the Lakers, according to Magic, muddied the waters. And that went along with when I had heard that Ty Lue had been given the sign-off before the ran by Knicks, the whole thing, one of the names I heard, but I thought I must be being, someone has it wrong, was that Tim Harris signed off on it. And I said, Tim Harris? Why would Tim Harris have anything to do with it? But now Magic is saying
he was
Tim
in that
Harris
meeting.
Was involved in this. And the other thing I would want to know, is this. What agreement did Magic and Jeanie actually have about how often Magic was going to be there? And how much he was going to work? Because what Magic said is true. That I told Jeanie, I make too much money being Magic Johnson to stop being Magic Johnson. Then I totally understand why he'd be upset if people around the office are talking bad about him doing something that was a prerequisite to him taking the job. Now, if he misled us and Jeanie expected it to have his full attention for 3 years, then you understand more so why people around the office, most notably Rob Pelinka, would be like, man, Magic's never here. And so that's the part to me I'd love to know what the real story is. But no one seems to be disputing the Luke Walton part, and that, to me, is reason alone for Magic to say, I don't want to be here anymore.
Well, we all knew there was a great deal of dysfunction throughout the Lakers. So now, with what we've heard recently with Jeanie Buss, as far as who she's using to get information from, and now we've heard from Magic himself, even if he was everything he was saying, I'm just going to go back to my first experience with Magic Johnson. My brother was drafted by the Lakers. I was in the 9th grade. Lakers had just won the world championship. Magic Johnson was a world superstar. My brother goes to training camp. They start the season and everything. Magic ends up getting hurt earlier in the season. My brother ends up playing a lot. And my first conversation about Magic Johnson, my brother was like, he's amazing. He wins every drill. He's first at everything. The attention to detail and the energy he brings to work every day, it drives the franchise. This Magic Johnson that took over as president is a different Magic Johnson. Now, I don't know what relationship agreement him and Jeanie Buss came up with from the beginning, but it was clear. The amount of power he had and direction as far as time and what he was going to be doing, there were not clear marching orders as far as that. So they started off. Magic thought the job was a lot easier than the job was. The job that requires, Magic hadn't even thought about the time he was going to have to put into being that. Magic wants to be a celebrity. It was clear yesterday. That's what he wants to do. And he thought that he signed up to be a celebrity. And the Lakers, they didn't need a celebrity. They need someone to run their basketball operations. And if he was trying to be a celebrity, he should have told LeBron James that when LeBron James decided, I'm getting ready to partner with the Lakers. I mean, the Lakers, man, there is so much dysfunction. Magic talking about, yeah, I talked to Jeanie Buss a couple days ago. Rob Pelinka at his press conference introducing the coach said, yeah, I talked to Magic 2 days ago. Man, if someone's backstabbing me, I'm not getting ready to have dinner with them. I'm not getting ready to have all these types of conversations. So I understand why the Lakers struggled. I'm not surprised that Magic Johnson got into this a little naive as far as what the requirements were and what he was willing to do, because Magic has a great life. He should have never campaigned for this job. Magic was sitting on the sideline. The Lakers were struggling, and Jeanie Buss and him are friends, and Magic's going back and forth. Oh, man, we should do this. We should do this. And he got the opportunity, and he realized it's not as easy as he thought it was going to be. So I'm not surprised. A lot of what Magic said is true. A lot of the rumors, I had someone in L.A. told me he was trying to fire Luke Walton from the beginning. Yep. That's what he was trying to do, and that's a major conflict because Jeanie Buss, Magic didn't have the power, total power over the basketball operations, and you could hear that in yesterday's conversation.
All right, you mentioned Jeanie Buss. Nick, it's been reported that Buss was blindsided by all of the comments that Magic Johnson made. What do you make of that?
If that's true, and Ramona Shelburne's reporting it, and she seems very well sourced on this, it seems like she has a real reporter-source relationship with Jeanie, then Jeanie Buss is unequipped for this job. If you could be blindsided by Magic Johnson first of all, let's think about the show he decided. He went on First Take. He didn't go on to sit down with Rachel Nichols. He went on a show where he wants as big of an audience and as inflammatory as possible. That's first of all. Second of all, when he walked away, he said, I'm tired of the backstabbing and whispering. We deduced he was talking about Rob Pelinka. There were two people he could be talking about, Jeanie or Rob. He kept saying, I love Jeanie, I love Jeanie.
Right.
I don't have too much of a relationship with Rob. He used the word backstabbing in his previous press avail. So how could you be blindsided? And Jeanie knew I stopped him from firing the coach, which is one of the biggest jobs a president of basketball operations would have. I all of a sudden made him consult with Linda Rambis and Tim Harris. And so either she's misleading the public by saying or releasing or leaking she was blindsided, or she is in so far over her head. Because how could she be blindsided by something? I don't think there was too much that shocking about Magic's interview yesterday.
No.
I was a little surprised he went into as much detail as he did, and he really laid to bear his lack of relationship with Pelinka.
Yeah, that I was surprised about, too. I thought his appearance yesterday was going to be like his tweets. Very just obvious on the surface.
Okay, sure.
Wow, that's a good basketball game.
Right.
Man, that shot went in from 25 feet.
But I don't know how Jeanie, who has as much insight on what actually was going on as anybody, could be blindsided by this. And it is your job as the owner of the Lakers to not be blindsided by much of anything. It's your job.
Not the way it's run.
Right.
No, not when all and her friends are running the team. She knew all about the basketball as far as the business operations. I guarantee she can tell you every dollar made, every jersey sold, all those things. But the basketball operations part, like the Lakers are a mess. And we just got a full reveal through yesterday with Magic and the things that he said.
And just real quick, you repeatedly bring up, when we talk about Jeanie Buss, how successful the business side has been.
Yes.
And I think it's informative, too. One of the reasons why, and I think it's foolish, but why she might be bringing Tim Harris in. Why all of a sudden Linda Rambis might be having a say in basketball matters. Because she's looking at it, she's like, well, half the business is going great. So maybe the smart people are over there. Tim Harris makes us a ton of money. Linda Rambis give me good marketing advice, good advice in this. Let's see their advice on basketball. But those two things typically have to stay separate.
Yes.
And being as skillful on the business side doesn't mean you can figure out which coach can help you scheme against the Warriors in 2019.
Look, if you take all that other stuff out of it, all the noise, the distraction, the drama, how the team's going to play this coming season is the most important thing. And right now, the first thing that Vogel's going to have to do, and now it's going to be Rob Pelinka, is going to go out and get someone to help this team win, which is the only thing that could even come close to fixing or quieting some of this noise. And every time we unveil like a new layer to all this, we say, well, how is this going to affect someone coming in? And we haven't heard anything from LeBron James. He's been very quiet on all of this. Cece, how do you think these latest comments from Magic now affects the pursuit of getting a free agent into that organization?
Well, everything is out there. It didn't help. Like what Magic said yesterday, it did not help the Lakers with Kawhi Leonard. Kyrie Irving, we don't know. So these are the people we're talking about. Now, let's just say this. The upset of the offseason would be like if Klay Thompson left Golden State to go to the Lakers. Why would Klay leave what they got going on? See, that's why what they're doing is so devastating, because even to pull off something like that, you don't even have things in place that a player would trust you. Magic yesterday talked about, oh, I'm going to talk to free agents. Well, if Jeanie Buss was shocked by what he said, why would you let him talk to anyone else? Rob Pelinka, you can't trust him. Like, he's over the basketball operations. Like, you can't let Magic. Matter of fact, you got to put Magic on a gag order. Don't talk about the Lakers anymore.
Have his 5-week Europe trip go a little early.
I do believe that it will hurt them in free agency. Everything that's going on didn't help, but LeBron James has been constant. He was not behind the scenes trying to pull the strings to be able to control this situation. LeBron let it play out. And I'm going to tell you something. I like Frank Vogel as a coach. I don't think he's a bad coach. And if they had done a regular search and Magic and Rob had come up with Frank Vogel as their coach, I'd have been like, okay, they could have done worse. I would have been okay with his basketball. Yeah. It's how they got there. LeBron did the right thing. I'm going to show up at the press conference. I'm going to see how we can get better. I'm going to tell you about our personnel, and I'm going to give this guy a fresh start because the battles they went through with the Pacers and the Heat, LeBron respects his basketball because he did some things to LeBron defensively that gave LeBron some problems. So if we had gotten there a different route, yesterday's press conference would have been totally different. But I like LeBron behind the scenes. I'm going to support that guy. I'm here. I realize what we're doing, and I'm going to win in spite of everything else. I believe that's his mentality.
When it comes to the free agents, and that's what this whole offseason is going to come down to now, I'm old enough to remember when the narrative was, is LeBron James hurting the Lakers' ability to get a second star? We're now at a place where LeBron James is the only thing the Lakers have going for them. The only reason the Lakers are going to be in the room for a second star is because of the pull of LeBron James, and that responsibility now falls on his shoulders. But I know, much like when college recruiting, there is negative recruiting. And when you're a star free agent and you're meeting with the Dallas Mavericks and you walk into a room and there's Mark Cuban there, there's Donnie Nelson there, there's Rick Carlisle there, and they know your next meeting's with the Lakers. Not only are you impressed by who's in that room, what do you think they're saying about, do you want to trust this organization? When you go to L.A. and you have two meetings set up, and the first one is Steve Ballmer, Jerry West, Doc Rivers. And the next one is Jeanie Buss, Linda and Kurt Rambis, Rob Pelinka, and Frank Vogel. LeBron better be tipping the scales heavily in favor of the Lakers because the other teams are going to be telling them that organization is a mess.
Right.
And they're going to be much more, I would imagine, impressed by the firepower in those rooms for the Mavericks or for the Clippers or for almost whomever else than who the Lakers can now present.
And we know some of the guys out there. A guy like Kawhi, he doesn't want any part of a mess like this. So this stuff has to get cleaned up. All right. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.